Welcome everyone to the Town of Aurora General Council meeting. Mr. Clerk, the time is now 7:01 on January 19th. I'd like to call the committee, General Committee meeting to order. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest and the nature thereof? All right, seeing none. May I have a motion for the approval of the agenda? Councillor Tom, Councillor Maracus, any questions or comments on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to recommend that the agenda as circulated by legal and legislative services be approved, which we've already done. I'd like to ask for items, determination of items requiring a separate discussion. If I can start with Councillor Peary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 7, please.
Thank you. Councillor Kim.
Oh, he picked mine.
Do you want me to come back to you?
Yes, come back, please.
Okay, Councillor Tom.
Item 4, please.
Thank you. Councillor 8, Mayor Daw.
That's going to go on your performance evaluation. Item 13, please. Item 13.
No disrespect, Mr. Mayor, I'm used to seeing you here. That was bad. Councillor Abel?
If you could just go by me, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thompson?
I think I heard item 3 and 4 have both been pulled.
No, not 3, 4, 7, and 13.
I'll pull item 3, please, as well as item 15.
15? Councillor Gartner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 3.
That was been pulled? Councillor Thompson pulled it.
Oh, sorry, wasn't paying attention. Thank you, Councillor Thompson. So we've got 3, 4, 7, number 11.
Okay.
14, 18, 19, and 21.
Thank you. Councillor Maracus?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Councillor Abel? I'll pull.
No, I'm good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Perfect. And Councillor Kim?
Was number 8 pulled?
No.
Okay, number 8.
Perfect. So just to confirm what was been pulled this evening, item number 3, 5, 7, 8, 11. Did I miss one? You said 4. I'm sorry, 3, 4, 7, 8, 11, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19, and 21. It's going to be a short meeting. May I have a motion for...
Madam Chair, could you just add number 9, please?
Number 9? Okay. Perfect, thank you. May I have a motion to adopt items not requiring a separate discussion? Councillor Maracus, Councillor Peary, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We have some delegations this evening. I'd like to welcome Jimmy Brennan from the Aurora Youth Soccer Club Executive Director. We have 5 minutes of time for you. So welcome, thank you.
Actually, you know what, you give me a ball in front of 60,000 people, not a problem. Standing in front of you guys, it's a bit daunting. But first of all, I want to say thank you for letting me have this opportunity to stand up here and put this forward to all you guys. And once again, thank you on behalf of Aurora Youth Soccer Club for the work that you do for us and the support that you've gave us over the number of years. What I want to do is I just want to give you a little bit brief history of the organization, where we're going, what we have planned, and then we'll finish off with our needs, so to speak. So first of all, the Aurora Youth Soccer Club was founded in 1964 with deep roots embedded in the town. Currently serves close to 5,000 youth and adult members from all ages, from U4 to 69. We create opportunity for youth to learn the world of sports, competition, social interaction, healthy active lifestyle, and sportsmanship. Aurora boasts the highest per capita participation in Canada for the game of soccer. Aurora AYSC continues to be active in the community, participating in charities and supporting local businesses. We also offer a wide variety of programs, including our special needs, our men's and women's leagues, competitive rep leagues, and then our first-class recreational program for the youth. At the moment, if you look at the chart, you can see a development path, and this is our pathway designed by myself and our technical staff that we have on board. And as you can see at the bottom, we have a recreation, which is our house league department. Just before that is All-Star, which leads into our representative. And these teams, they go across the province representing the town of Aurora. We have Ontario Player Development League, which is the highest elite standard for kids from youth 13, 14, and 15. We have an under 21 league, and just recently we've been awarded an expansion team in League 1 Ontario, which is the highest level of competitive soccer that you can have in Ontario. And that is an open age with a certain amount of players for the under 23. So we're hoping that all our kids that are coming through our system have this pathway where eventually they'll move on to play for the Canadian national team, maybe go to university, or one day probably play Major League Soccer. So the past and present, the Aurora Youth Soccer Club is a soccer organization that continues to rapidly grow and strives to be one of the top clubs in Ontario. In 2012, 2014, 2016, we've been given the Gold Excellence Award, which is a high standard that you have to meet. We've been given that over the last number of years. We just held our first international game against Peru, which many of you came out to that game, and it was a spectacular day. And thank you for the men's club for supporting us and allowing us to use your facility. We have ex-professionals and professionals that are playing the pro game, coming to train our members. Chris Konopka, we had Kaylin Kyle, who plays on the women's national team, who won the World Cup, who came to Aurora to teach our young kids. We have an international tournament that we're looking to put on from the age of under U16. We've already been committed teams from Sweden, Colombia, Mexico, Dominican Republic, and the USA. We have 6 teams in this in the elite Ontario Player Development League, and we've had 40 rep teams, and we're growing to 52 for the 26th season. Our house league is at 210 teams, and we're projected to grow another 5% next year. Now, when I walk around town and I've gone into the facilities, I play hockey, my kids play sports, the facilities are absolutely brilliant that you offer in this town. When hockey players come off the ice, the first thing they do, they go into the dressing rooms, they get changed, they showered, you come out of the swimming pool, you get changed, you get showered, and off the basketball court's the exact same thing. Now the problem that we're having is we don't have one dressing room in town. Out of the 46 fields that we use in Aurora, not one of them has a dressing room and shower. We're bringing teams from all over the province. Players are coming from Windsor, they're coming from Ottawa, from up north, from the GTA, all over. And they've got to get changed in their cars, play a game for 90 minutes in the middle of summer, and then they've got to get back into their car and head home and drive another 5 hours or wherever it is that they've come from. So what we're here for is we're asking for your help and helping us provide a dressing room and a great environment that we can be proud of, so to speak, just like every other organization through town is. Now with this facility as well, we'd like to have it open for maybe rugby, lacrosse, the other outdoor sports that need these dressing rooms as well. It's more for the community, but also for our organization.
Mr. Brennan, we have 1 minute.
I got 7 seconds left and I'm done. Yeah, but that's it. So thank you very much for hearing me out. But this is a major need that we have right now is for these dressing rooms. At Shepherd's Bush ideally is a place that we'd like to have this.
Is it?
That's it.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate delegation. May I have a motion to receive the delegation this evening? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Marcus. Any questions of the delegate? Councillor Abel.
Thank you very much for coming out. It's great to have you with our club here in Aurora. You've identified the location preferred would be at the Shepherd's Bush?
Yes.
Of course, I think that's ideal as well, but you would know better. And Have you mentioned that to our sport plan? Because we've got a number of plans going forward.
Yeah, we've spoke to them about it. I've had a number of conversations with a few people in this room as well. What ended up happening was when we applied for League One, we have the OPDL, which is the elite teams that we have for the U13, 14, 15. There's a standard that has to be met. Now, for the last number of years, we've been kind of pushing it off and trying to get away from it. But it's something that's kind of haunting us now, and they've really pushed for us to try to make this happen, to get these facilities right, so that we can meet these standards. Now, the last thing that we want to do is, because we've worked so hard over the number of years, is lose our Gold Excellence Award that we've had over the number of years. We don't want to lose our license as well for this League One, now that we brought a semi-professional team in, which is 3 tiers under Major League Soccer. It's a necessity for this organization, but also as well for other outdoor sports that would use that facility during the summer.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there other questions for the delegates? Councillor Perry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for coming out tonight, Jimmy.
Thank you.
What is your ask of us? Is it space? Is it funding?
It's funding. It's funding. We would love for you to help us fund this. We are a nonprofit organization, but we would like to try to help out as much as we can and try to offer some funds towards it. But for the most part, we'd love the town of Aurora to help us.
And in terms of cost estimates, have you guys started exploring?
We've had discussions. We were looking at a range of maybe around $750,000, but we believe that we could probably lower that with the expertise that we have. A few members on our board, as also with Alan, a number of people that are involved with the town. I'm sure we can get that cost a lot lower.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Oh, Councillor Thompson and Councillor Gardner.
Thanks so much for being here this evening. You mentioned that obviously, the team travels around as well. Are there other communities that have these kind of clubhouses that myself or other members of council can kind of look to as an example to get a sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can forward that information to you. There's a lot of teams in the GTA, which is convenient for you to go and have a look, that have these facilities, that have dressing rooms at their fields. And I'll pass that information on to you.
Thank you. That'd be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Gardner?
Thank you very much, and I know soccer is very important in Aurora, and our family certainly has enjoyed it. When you say that you have to meet certain standards,
Yes.
these standards are coming from where, and what are they?
Yeah, these standards, they're part of the Ontario Soccer Association as well as the Canadian Soccer Association. So what happens is these standards are made through the Canadian Soccer Association, get passed down to the OSA, and then down into us. So when they make these leagues or rules, they get passed on into the local clubs. And in order for us to meet the requirements, we have to meet everything that's on this list that they send out. And dressing rooms is one of them.
Thank you. Dedicated dressing rooms?
Yes.
So dressing rooms that would be dedicated for soccer's use?
Any sport. Any sport. But as long as they're at that field, then ideally, yes, for soccer. But if a rugby team is playing, they could use it as well. But just for our league, they've asked that we have dressing rooms.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Marcus?
Sorry, Madam Chair, it's not necessarily a question directed to the delegate. I was just wondering, should we move something to have staff maybe come back to us with a report? Would that be under new business?
I was actually going to suggest, but we want just one moment. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think it needs to be done under new business. The usual normal practice would be to receive the delegation and refer to staff for a report on.
Perfect. Thank you. Councillor Marcus?
Thank you. I'll move that. Thanks.
May I have a seconder for that? Councillor Gardner?
I would second that, but I would like to know exactly what it is we're going to ask of staff.
Okay,
So staff to look into the possibility of providing dressing room / clubhouse at...
Yes, and to refer back to staff to investigate and provide a report.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Any other questions for the delegate? None? Thank you so much, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you very much for your time,
You did a great
guys.
job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next delegate this evening is Mr. Brian Casey, President of Aurora Youth Soccer Club. I'm sorry. Aurora Soccer Club. My apologies.
That's okay.
Sorry about that, Mr. Brent.
I'm only going to be up here for 1 minute, and then I'm going to pass it over to Martin Ambrose, okay?
Absolutely, thank you.
First and foremost, my name is Brian Casey. Good evening. I'd like to thank you for having me here today, and I'd like to thank the town of Aurora, the councillors, past and present, and of course the staff, for a great partnership that we've enjoyed for many years. I thank you very much. And now, if I'm allowed, I'll pass it over to Martin Ambrose. Thank you.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind stating your name and your address.
Yes, no problem at all. Madam Chair and members of Council, my name is Martin Ambrose and I'm here representing the Aurora Soccer Club regarding our long-standing partnership with the town of Aurora and the draft lease agreement which is before Council this evening. I would like to provide the Mayor and Councillors with some history surrounding this partnership and why it matters not only to Aurora Soccer Club, its members, but also to the community, as it supports the town's strategic plan of an exceptional quality of life for all, while encouraging an active and healthy lifestyle. Aurora is the pride of York Region. I think we can all agree that this has been and continues to be achieved by the efforts of both the community and its leaders in the broadest sense. However, when we peel back the layers, we can see what true partnership and community is all about. It is about doing the right thing for our constituents, respecting one another and our institutions and the relationships we have with each, and with informed judgment, sensibly embracing change and evolving with the times. The community has a long history of partnership, collaboration, integrity, transparency, and fairness, and concurrence with good faith agreements, and we certainly feel privileged to be both a contributing and evolving organisation within this community. We are now home to double the number of competitive teams since we last progressed our partnership some 10 years ago. Many of our members not only provide their voluntary services to the soccer club, but also to other endeavours in town, from sport of all types to community volunteers, to the Chamber of Commerce, members of charities, to other religious and non-denominational support groups, such as the Cancer Society, Yellow Brick House, and indeed 3 of our members are inductees in the Sport Hall of Fame. We also won the Run or Walk for South Lake Hospital Team Challenge last year. The extent of our financial contribution to needy causes is now in 6 figures, with the Cancer Society being the beneficiary of some $30,000 over the last 10 years. The ASC is a not-for-profit organisation. It is self-funded and is second only in age to Aurora Tennis. We were founded 62 years ago, and our members, both then and now, work hard to develop a club that is the pride not only of Aurora, but also the broader community, with clubs nationally and internationally enjoying the facilities. To be specific, the clubhouse, all of our infrastructure, floodlights, sprinkler systems, and the field itself has been built and are maintained by member funding only. We enjoy over 4,000 unique attendances annually. We have in excess of 4,500 subscribers, and our newsletter goes out to over 2,000 social members with an active player base in excess of 300, all over the age of 18. Should I say, some of you may not be aware, the Aurora Soccer Club formed the Aurora Minor Soccer Association in '64, and recognizing that it required its own dedicated team of organisers, we helped the Youth Soccer Club achieve its independence in '67. And through this independence, I think we can safely say that the Youth Soccer Club is definitely achieved. Since our founding, both clubs have maintained a positive partnership with players maturing into the adult ranks for decades now. So, I apologise, when I have to take my glasses off, I lose my track. Why does this situation matter? The situation matters and the lease matters because the individuals, businesses and institutions in Aurora form the fabric of this community. And without them, we would have very little to be proud of. In fact, we would probably have nothing at all, other than people potentially acting primarily out of self-interest. The Aurora Soccer Club is proud to be part of the community and being instrumental in developing strong ambassadors for both the club and the town through sport, charity and its social endeavours. We have members from all walks of life, police, medical, legal, professional, trade and government, and from many ethnic, cultural and national backgrounds.
1 minute.
We thank staff for recommending that the town enter into this new lease and continue to support the partnership with the ASC as you have done in the past. Therefore, we cordially ask that the Council approve the motion before you this evening. This concludes my comments, Madam Chair, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Now I can see you again.
Great. Great job, thank you. Just for a moment. May I have a motion? Thank you. May I have a motion, Councillor Abel, Councillor Maracus? Do we have any questions for the delegate this evening? Councillor Gardner? Councillor Gardner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution to not only all of your charitable causes, but to keeping men over the 18-year age bracket healthy and busy and active in sport. Does that also include women?
Yes, it does. In fact, I cut the presentation a little bit short. We took the Ontario Women's Soccer League team from the Aurora Youth team last year, and they played their first year at the adult competitive age group out of the Aurora Soccer Club and had a fantastic year. And that's something that has continuously progressed over the last 30, 40 years.
Thank you. Just some information questions. The field and clubhouse are open only to members?
No, we have an agreement with the town so that we have other even non-soccer associations use the facilities.
Thank you. You said you've doubled the membership in 10 years. How many members would that be?
Well, we've 300 active playing members, and that's men and women. We have 6 women's teams. And beyond that, we've got 2,000 social members, and we've about 4,500 people who sign up and subscribe for our newsletter, which goes out, I think, once a quarter.
Thank you. And all of these members are contributing to the upkeep of the field and the clubhouse?
Absolutely. In many ways, some fiscal, some purely with their time. Around here today, there are founding members who've been with the organization for over 60 years. We have people at the back of the room who've just celebrated their 55th wedding anniversary, and blood, sweat and tears built the organization. And that's not just the man, Benny, that's his wife. Back in the day, this club got its funding from running bingo and all the sort of things that you would have done before we had Sky TV and TSN and all this wonderful stuff. I even remember my own father used to love coming over here from Ireland, and ex-international soccer player, I might add. I wasn't good enough. And he would just beeline for the clubhouse, because all of the cronies would be at the clubhouse and there'd be a pint to be had. And one day we were watching the FA Cup final, English Cup final, and the feed went down. The satellite feed goes down. And there's pandemonium. There's like 60 people there trying to watch this game. And my dad just says, "Can I use the phone? Can I make an international phone call?" And this is back when Setanta Sport owned all of the rights for satellite TV. So he phones Dublin, phones whatever crony he knew in Dublin, feeds back up in 3 minutes. So anyway, there's a lot of folklore behind. And I see you were there when he made that phone call. Eddie Boyle was there when he made that phone call. There's a lot of folklore, and I chose the word fabric on purpose. There's a lot of folklore behind what's in this club. It's not just soccer, it's community.
Thank you. And we have none of that history in our report tonight, so thank you for adding some of that.
Okay.
My last question, I have a feeling you could talk all night, so I have to be careful.
I probably could. I'm nursing, believe it or not, ironically, a soccer injury that a 20-year-old gave to me, not from his club, a 20-year-old gave to me courtesy of a little tackle last week, but anyway.
Well, I just have one last question.
Okay.
Percentage of the members from Aurora?
I believe the percentage of playing members from Aurora is about 65. Of the social members, that's a real hard question to answer, because these would be young men and women who are now possibly even my age, who are living perhaps in Newmarket, etc. But Aurora origin, again, probably in that 60 to 70% mark in the 2,000 social members.
Thank you. And I didn't actually speak accurately. I'd also like to know, do you rent the club out to other people?
We do, yes. It's available for social purposes also. In fact, one of our members, coincidentally a member, is hosting a wedding there, and over the course of the years, weddings get hosted there under 21 birthday parties, you name it.
And I'm guessing you get some income from that as well.
We do. We get some income from that, and it goes for some general upkeep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions for the delegate this evening? Well, thank you so much. I've been to a couple of weddings there, and this couple of it's a great. Thank you. You do a great job there, and thank you for coming this evening. All in favor to receive the delegation this evening? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you so much. Our next delegate this evening is Gary Miniali and Steve Mills from Trinity Church, Aurora. If you can please state your name and address. Oh, before you begin, I do have an announcement I should have made a little bit earlier. There was an item that was, we had hoped would be on the agenda for the tennis facility. That is not going to be on the agenda this evening. It's coming back on February 2nd, so if you're waiting for that, we're not going to be speaking to that item this evening. So I didn't want you to find that out at the end of the meeting. But go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. This letter is in your agenda, so if you wish to follow, I'm not doing anything different than reading the letter that we sent to all of you.
Would you mind stating your names?
This is Trinity Church, Aurora. Oh, and I'm Steve Mills. Yes.
I'm Gary Minneely. Thank you.
Trinity Anglican Church in Aurora is committed to being a good neighbor and has been and will continue to be a strong community partner. We are dedicated to contributing to the betterment of our town. As a private owner in Block 2, Trinity is at great risk with the proposal for Block 2 of the Cultural Precinct, the study submitted by Fontaine Group. Any discussions going forward would have to begin with a different vision and planning assumptions than those shown in this concept for Block 2. This plan compromises Trinity's growth potential and has a major impact on our car parking issues and affects our entire operation and therefore our ability to effectively manage our property and minister to the needs of Aurora. We do not know the full implications of the vision, including possible zoning changes, liabilities, easements, bylaw changes, and expropriation.
We should note that the ownership of the church and the land and the buildings belong to the Incorporated Synod of the Diocese of Toronto. It doesn't belong to Trinity Church in Aurora. We want to go on record to say that we do not want future councils to assume Trinity is giving them tentative approval and support to the idea laid out for Block 2 of this proposal. There are too many unanswered questions at this time. Further discussions with a different concept are always welcome. Trinity requests that Block 2, as shown, not be included in any motion for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to receive the delegation this evening? Councillor Abel, Councillor Gartner. Any questions for the delegates this evening? Mayor Daw?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Gentlemen, thank you for coming out. I met with you, and I think you've met probably with most of the other people at council, and I know that I was, and I also met with Reverend Davis and tried to emphasize that this was very conceptual. So this is certainly, you know, if council was to accept this next Tuesday when it comes to council, that the, as Councillor Thompson has said, the bulldozers would not be in the street the next day. So I'm also concerned that you felt it necessary to put in your letter that it's private property and the ownership. So could you perhaps give council a bit of a sense as to where we could have been either better in communicating with you that it's a conceptual plan? Can you give me perhaps a bit of a different sense of what your concern is? Because it is indeed conceptual. We're looking forward in conjunction with the promenade plan that was passed in 2010. So if you could help me, I would appreciate that.
I think, Mr. Mayor, that where you have to go to in our words is the last paragraph, and that is our concern to say that we do not want future councils to assume that Trinity is giving tentative approval and support to the ideas laid out in this proposal. We're concerned that while you may defer on Block 2, and I know that your concern is mainly with Block 1, but Block 1 and Block 3 are public, largely public properties. Block 2 is essentially all private. And our concern is that sometime down the road, 20 years from now, after 3 or 4 different councils, that this plan will come back to haunt us if you approve it in principle.
Mayor Dunn?
Thank you. I appreciate your concern. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. And I believe Councillor Abel, did you have?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. It was more or less, I think when we put a plan in and a concept together, we're engaging the public for their input. Your input is clear, that you don't want to be part of such a plan, and you've given your reasons, and I totally respect that. You are a property owner, and I thought perhaps the question I would ask is if we were to get any sort of participation or approval from Trinity, we would have to go to the corporate level to sort of bounce by our ideas about sharing your property for our concept. Is that where we have gone, and have we done that?
No, it would be a twofold thing. It would go through the church wardens through to the diocese.
Right, okay. All right, and so to that end, have you been approached with this plan and expressed that? Because if we're going to, I'll let you answer that.
I'll try to keep to a couple words. As Councillor Maracas knows, we sat at the same table and we talked about exactly your words, Mr. Mayor, the conceptual nature of the plan. We did not get into any kind of legalese or the impacts on what Block 2 would be. They would be very different than Block 1 or 3. So we never talked about the impact of whether expropriation would be necessary. We talked about 30 seconds on the liabilities that would be of concern to us. So those did come up, but they weren't discussed to any length because the discussion was essentially around the kinds of things that would be done, where the baseball park would be, where the pathways would be, size of the buildings, the parking lot, so on. The legalese part of it really never got developed as a discussion, and we were never approached on that.
Thank you. I'll make my conclusions after, Madam.
Thank you, Councillor Abel. Councillor Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you both for coming here. I know we've sat down and had similar conversations, and I truly do understand your concerns. I guess my question, the cultural precinct isn't new. It comes out of the 2010 Promenade study that was approved by a former council before I came on. And in that 2010 study, there's actually a concept plan of the cultural precinct, and it does show that same mid-block connection that you have grave concerns over. So really, I mean, the current concept is just building on something that was adopted and approved by council way back in 2010. So I guess my question to you both, if you can answer this, is did the Trinity Church raise any objections to that Promenade study concept plan way back in 2010 that showed that same mid-block connection and pathway through Block 2?
I can't answer that for sure, but I know that I've never seen it before.
I appreciate that.
And same as with this plan, nobody came to us to discuss what they were going to perceive for you people. We had no idea.
And so I'll save most of my comments for when the item comes before it, but I'll certainly put up a copy of that plan so you can see it. But I just want you to, I'll repeat what I said to you when we met in Tim Hortons, that, you know, it's still just a concept. It's certainly subject to change. I understand your concerns, and I appreciate you voicing them.
Thank you. So it's not, down the road, other councils will pick this plan up and say, oh my goodness, it was approved. So we wanted to be on record that we didn't approve of that particular part of it.
Thank you. I believe it was Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Milley and Mr. Mills, and for coming, and it's good to see you again. And just to reassure you, I know many of us have already assured you before, but you know, I certainly, and I'm sure most of us, if not all, are not interested in expropriating private property, and never mind a church. And so, you know, to the furthest extent legally that we can put in some kind of language for any future council to pick that up, we will certainly do so. But there is no, like I said a couple weeks ago with you, I don't think there's any deterrent for anybody to pick up a plan or even make up their own based on an existing plan to kind of have it resurface. But I think we can assure you that you know, to the extent possible, we will ensure that whatever we decide will be carried forward in future councils as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the delegates this evening? Okay, all in favor of receiving the delegation this evening? And refer, I guess, refer to the item. All in favor? Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Our next delegation this evening is Ms. Lenore Presley. Ms. Presley, you can state your name and address, and there's 5 minutes.
My name is Lenore Presley, and I live at 85 Harrison Avenue in Aurora. And I come to represent the Town Park Area Resident Ratepayers Association and our concerns with regards to the cultural precinct. While we are not opposed to this, we do have significant concerns about the present plan. First, may I say that our association members feel disenfranchised with regard to keeping us informed about plans that affect our area. The residents represented by this ratepayers group live within a few block radius of the planned area, and in spite of being told by the town that we as a registered association would be informed of any change that would affect our area, this did not happen. A neighbor asked what the association thought about the plan, and that is how we found out. I realize it was in the newspapers, but a lot of people don't read the local newspapers. Our greatest concern with the precinct is the increase in traffic congestion and parking concerns. We have requested a traffic study be done many times over the last 15 years, and to date have not been given any evidence that this has been done. At the same time, this and former councils continue to add more and more building in our area that increase traffic and cause more parking concerns. In 2001, the present library was built at the corner of Yonge and Church Streets with inadequate parking, and now the library staff has been asked not to park in the parking lot so that there are spaces for the residents. Shortly after that, the cultural center was renovated, and it is a cultural hub which is often busy and has a small, inadequate parking lot at the side of the center. Also, Trinity Anglican Church, which is now also being used by Aurora United Church, is very busy, and when there are events at all these places, this requires people to park on the surrounding streets, making traffic flow difficult, as 2 cars cannot pass if cars are parked on both sides of the street. This also encumbers emergency vehicles. Also, commuter traffic and parking are an issue. Anyone who has been near the tracks when the train comes in can attest to the difficulty getting around, and we now have gridlock on Wellington Street at this time. Even in off periods, the traffic on both Wellington and Yonge Streets are extremely busy. On November the 24th, the association executive met with several of the councillors, and one councillor who was coming across Wellington was 15 minutes late, the time it took him to drive from Bathurst to the town office. Also, we expect that in the near future, with the trains running more frequently, that the commuter traffic is only going to get worse. Where are these people going to park? And removing some of the parking spots from the park is only going to make it worse. Also, we read in the paper that Councillor Abel thinks that there should be some leniency with regards to overnight parking. Who are the people who need to park in the street overnight when the strict restrictions are in place? Are these the residents of the single-family homes in the area that have been turned into multiple family dwellings? And why have the owners been allowed to have more apartments than parking spots? Most single-family homes have no problems parking in their driveways when the restrictions are on. The cultural precinct shows a large parking garage that would accommodate the increased parking needs, but also increases traffic on Wellington and Yonge Street. The traffic in the area continues to increase and will only make it worse. Then there's the new apartment building on Yonge Street just north of Wellington, and also the town has approved the building of 2 5+1 story apartment buildings just east of Edward Street, without a traffic or parking study having been done. And they also agreed that 1 to 2 parking spots required is at the developer's discretion. How can the town approve all this development and determine if the infrastructure in place is adequate to accommodate the increased traffic and parking without doing traffic and parking studies? How do you think people are going to get around? It seems to us that development in our area is done without any forward planning as far as traffic and parking.
Ms. Presley, one moment.
With these concerns in mind, we are asking the town to do a traffic study and a new parking study to determine if this cultural precinct plan should even be considered. To do otherwise will confirm that you do not care about the well-being of the old Southeast area residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. May I have a motion? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Tom. Any questions for the delegate this evening? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. May I have a refer? My apologies. Councillor Maracus. Councillor Tom, all in favor? Thank you. That motion carries. Our next delegation is Miss Susan Morton-Leonard. Ms. Morton-Leonard, if you can come up and state your name and address, you've got 5 minutes. There she is.
My name is Susan Morton-Leonard. I reside at 78 Wells Street with my partner Robert Leonard, and we are here tonight in support of a cultural precinct for Aurora. However, the fountain plan being marketed is not big and better plan that Aurora deserves. While we agree with the fountain rationale that culture can be an economic driver, it requires a supportive infrastructure to meet the goals. We are not aware of any real research other than what has been marketed to us by Fountain. Are there studies being commissioned by the town to examine the economic value of a cultural precinct, or a cost-benefit analysis to understand if the proposed changes will indeed help Aurora? After all, the municipality in the past 6 years has not been supportive of independent cultural providers and events. Soil studies and traffic and parking management studies have also not been conducted to support this plan. The transportation hub directly east of the proposed precinct is not included, nor has any public transportation providers been invited to participate, despite the commuter parking problem that exists in the proposed precinct. Daily, 4,266 people board and deboard from the GO train in Aurora. How will they be attracted to visit the cultural precinct? Solid tourism planning layers events and activities, but without a strong downtown core included, where will tourists dine, find services, and shop? In recent years, 3 gift shops located inside or near the precinct closed down. They had sufficient parking, but not shoppers. The west side of Aurora houses many cultural providers and related businesses, but the municipality did not invite them to any visioning exercises. Chopping our town into chunks and giving greater importance to one area without the support of the adjacent areas does not serve Aurora's best interests. Heritage is a part of culture. Aurora's built culture and stories are not supported by the plan. For example, the proposed pedestrian laneway that runs up the backside of the library and the cultural center crosses through private land on the backside of Trinity Anglican Church, then through privately owned land of the Wells Street rental apartments and the Wells Street lofts before crossing into Town Park. The tall buildings bound both sides of the walkway, not the best view of the architecture, while preventing viewing the town's greatest number of built heritage gems along Mosley Street. The town's curator is working on an exhibit for display in March. Her work supports the fact that Mosley Street was a significant thoroughway, evidenced by the amount of heritage buildings. Unfortunately, the ACOM study commissioned by the town will deposition 2 of those heritage gems inside the precinct, the Armory and the Victoria Hall, which may alter Mosley. If you stand on the GO platform and look west, you can look directly into the west side of Aurora. For too long, Aurora's east and west communities have been divided. We have an opportunity to bring both sides together using Mosley and Tyler Streets to create a cultural corridor rather than a precinct. We do not need a hidden laneway. Let's celebrate our thoroughfares. Let's tell Aurora's development story. The added bonus is that we are also the only municipality that is bisected by the Oak Ridges Moraine Trail. Green concerns also abound. The volume of the development proposed between the library and the cultural center will create drainage issues, not to mention the loss of a civic square for outdoor events and activities, plus the beautiful sweeping views of Aurora that can be seen from the cultural center and the library's upper story. Aurora was built on a swamp. There are soil, underground water, and grade concerns not addressed by this plan. The large swath of pavement proposed for Town Park, plus the proposed ice skating parking pad, also poses drainage concerns. Will Aurora, one of the smallest municipalities in York Region, become best known for multiple level parking structures in the downtown core? Who will use the proposed parking structure if there isn't a municipal parking authority to oversee the building? The Fountain Plan calls for parallel parking around Town Park, which restricts the number of spaces. Trinity's private parking lot is also to be revamped to accommodate the pedestrian walkway. The plan also calls for evening and weekend permit parking. Cultural events and church activities are mostly in the evenings and weekends. The municipality has ignored parking issues or recently created bylaws that have introduced more neighborhoods' traffic stress. We desperately need a traffic parking management study before parking structures are even considered. Churches today are struggling financially. Is it wise to give municipal perks and privilege to one faith denomination? Two other churches also reside in the cultural precinct. What do they get? This sets a precedent that will cause financial conflict for the municipality. Taxpayers expect their money to go into public lands and causes, not private religious properties. The town purchased the green space affectionately known as the Town Park from John Mosley because the citizens gathered there to play cricket. It was also the site of the first farmers market before it relocated to the Aurora Town Hall and the public market on the northeast corner of Yonge and Mosley in 1875. As the time went on, fast pitch style of baseball became the popular and why the diamond in the Town Park was built smaller than most. The pitch is a part of the Aurora sport history, but this plan calls for doing away with baseball, even though the town rents the space weekly during the season to youth and women's baseball. The cost to demolish and rebuild the fairly new splash pad, the playground, and the band shell is a waste of taxpayers' dollars. The Aurora Lions Club built the band shell. The second stage, although redesigned, was retained on the original site. The proposed gardens to surround it never materialized.
Ms. Morton-Leonard, we're over, but if you want to wrap up, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank
the
you.
stage looks into the park, allowing the green space to house a very large audience. The proposed new stage is to be relocated to the opposite side of the park. It will no longer tell a story, plus the great lawn, which is smaller in size than presently enjoyed, will limit the audience size, and which in turn will limit the type of events offered. Weather does not allow for a natural ice rink anymore. An artificial surface will be smaller than the present rink and provide no real benefit to the park other than to reduce green space, which in turn limits summer activities. The farmers market will need to be relocated, but to design the park solely around the market's activities with an enlarged roadway bisecting the park devalues the other uses and users. We need a sophisticated plan that includes a vision that appreciates both Canada's and the town's history, one that creates economic opportunity and supports popular contemporary uses.
Sorry, Ms. Morton, we have to wrap up. Sorry, we're way over.
One sentence. It needs to be based on ideas that can endure 50 years of as well as a century. Council, please rise up to the challenge of a bigger and better plan.
Great, thank you. Thank you. May I have receive and refer, motion to receive and refer, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Abel. Any questions of the delegate this evening? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All in favor? Perfect, motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Are there any presentations by the advisory committee that we'd like to, by the chair, that we'd like to share right now? Of any committees, any interest?
So I suggest, because we have delegations, bring.
Thank you so much. In terms of consideration of speaking to items requiring a separate discussion, I would like a councillor to bring forward a motion to bring items 13 and 15 forward. Councillor Abel, Councillor Thompson. 15 first? Okay, perfect. So item 15 first, and then 13. All in favor? Motion carries. Item 15 forward was brought forward by Councillor Thompson.
I'll move the recommendation that it be received.
Perfect. Councillor Maraca, second that. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Mr. Downey. Mr. Downey, would it be possible for you to take a few minutes and just sort of update both the residents as well as members of council, where we are in the process and what remains to be done, and try and address some of the perhaps concerns you've heard, if possible?
Mr. Downey?
Certainly. Fixed it. Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to bring council as well as the public up to speed as to what the process has been so far and what the steps we are going to take from this point forward. The report that you have before you is for information purposes. The intent of the report was to give you a little bit of background as to what steps have been taken with regards to the development of the cultural precinct plan. This has been a very aggressive timeline, as you can see. We started with the release of the RFP in August, awarding in September, and we are at a point within the process, once we have concluded all our input from stakeholders and the public, to a point where we can now move forward and start refining some of the elements within the plan so that we can get back to council with a concept plan in addition to all costs, concerns, processes that perhaps we need to go through in order to see or at least have a conversation with regards to elements that you see within the plan presently. None of the elements within the plan have been committed to. None of them have been approved. However, council has asked me to engage FOTAN in moving forward in their final phase of this project, which will allow us to take a deeper look into the elements that have been identified within this plan and come back to council with some options, some costing, some processes, some strategies with regards to realizing some, all, or none of those elements within that cultural precinct. As far as the schedule goes that we had presented to council originally in this plan, we're about a month behind. The reason for that is we wanted to make sure that we provided as much opportunity for the public to have comment as possible. In fact, we just shut down our online survey or online comment site today. We are once again gathering that information. We have received, of course, information from the public this evening. We continue to encourage people to come forward and make comment. We anticipate that there will be a plan in front of council with regards to costings and strategies sometime in February, if not early March, so that there will then be a discussion by council as to which elements you wish us to move forward on, or what elements you wish us not to move forward on, or what you see as the next steps within the plan.
Thank you, Mr. Downey.
Thank you. Mr. Downey, you mentioned that we're probably a month behind schedule as per the last, for lack of a better term, process chart that you provided us back in November. And I think that's where some of the confusion is. I certainly heard from some of the residents that they thought that there was going to be an approval this evening or next week, so to speak, and we recognize that we're not anywhere near there. But is it possible for you to update that process workflow chart and be able to add that to the web page so that those people who aren't here tonight but want to see what's happening with it, have a better sense of timelines, what's happening, and what's going with the cultural precinct?
Mr. Downey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'm absolutely happy to do that. In fact, I need to sit down with our consultant and determine exactly what steps and the timing of those steps that we wish to take. We will be communicating that back to council as well as the public so that you will have best estimate of a time frame with regards to when you will be asked to look at another plan and recommendations coming forward to council. We're also going to be tying this into our other consultant report from AECOM, which has regard to the repurposing of four of the four buildings that are within the cultural precinct. We want to make sure that that information is also in front of council in a similar time frame, so that council has all information with regards to any impacts that either FOTEN's plan or AECOM's plan is going to have within this area.
Thank you, Mr. Downey. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. If I may continue, if I can ask Samantha to put on screen, I just want to, I guess, say for myself, first off, I don't think that the plan is complete in any way. I mean, we're talking about developing a plan that helps with our downtown revitalization. I don't think the plan in its current form addresses what we're looking for, and I certainly think it is subject to change. I've certainly heard lots of feedback from both residents, user groups and so forth with regards to elements they don't like, and so it's certainly my impression that as we go through this process that there will be alterations or changes to the plan, but Mr. Downey is still working through it. But I did want to take this moment to refresh both council as those that are participating in the discussion that, the cultural precinct is not a new idea. It wasn't brought forward this term. It comes out of the Promenade Plan that was developed in 2010. And in fact, this drawing is from the 2010 Promenade Plan that calls it a conceptual plan of the whole Promenade Plan. I've just taken a little excerpt of it. And so really, when I think about what we're doing today, it's kind of building on what was done there at that time. But I certainly, when I first saw the Promenade Plan in 2010, didn't think it was written in stone. I certainly thought it was subject to change, just like the current plan is subject to change. I think that, we go through this process, and, what we said in the beginning was that, Mr. Downey's been charged with doing something with this area for many, many years. He's generated many, many reports. We've struggled to be able to find an identity and to move forward with some of the things we need to do in terms of determination of the buildings and so forth. And so we chose this process, said, let's ask somebody to draw us a picture to help guide the discussion around what we want to do. And I think from that sense, it's helped because we've gotten lots of feedback, both on both sides of the scale about what needs to be done, what are some of the ideas. I know that there's some concerns that in the current concept there's no piazza and there's lots of different elements, and I think we're going to get to that point where we're going to have further discussions on those elements that we want in or out. And I agree completely with some of the comments about why change Town Park if it's not going to provide any benefit. I'm not looking to throw money away either. And so I think all of those things will come once Mr. Downey brings back that next phase of the project, which really is some costing around this, some identifications of those P3 partners that we've talked about before. But I just want to reiterate to all those that are of interest to it that this is just a concept plan. It is subject to change. It's not written in stone, and continue to please provide us with your feedback, because I think through your engagement, we will get that bigger and better plan that some of the residents are looking for. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there other speakers to Councillor Perry, Mayor Daw?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just following on Councillor Thompson's point, Mr. Downey, I take it you're still open to receiving complaints, to put it one way, but any comments or criticism, where should residents be sending that? Because I know that we get it, and when I get it, I send it over to you, because I know that you're helping to develop this plan with our consultants. So who should residents be sending this to?
Mr. Downey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this point, it would be helpful if it was actually sent directly to me, and we will then forward that. It can be also sent to members of council. I encourage members of council to forward that information to us. I share all the comments that I receive with our consultant.
Thank you. Councillor Kim?
That's everything.
Thank you, Councillor Perry. Councillor Kim? Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor Daw? I was just going to, everyone wants to speak, so I thought, okay, Councillor Kim.
I'll be short. While we're discussing in public, I believe Mr. Mills requested a big water feature in the cultural precinct. So, Mr. Downey, if you could take note of that.
Thank you, Councillor Kim. Councillor Tom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Downey, my question is for you, and it's based on the second page of the report. It says under the comment section on the third paragraph down that, as this plan is subject to comment and refinement, it is anticipated that endorsement in principle by council will permit the consultant to commence phase 3 of the project and prepare next steps and strategies and detailed design of the plan. So is the passing of this motion, which is just to be received for information, but in page 2 it says that it's somewhat an endorsement of the plan. Can you speak to that and explain whether it is or it isn't an endorsement of the plan that's before us?
Through Mr. Downey, I just would like to add, I think we've already endorsed this plan. That's just my perspective from moving forward, but if you'd like to speak to that, thank you.
We've never endorsed the plan. Sorry.
Through you, Madam Chair, you're correct. The plan has never been endorsed by Council. I'm not asking Council to approve this plan. I believe as a staff member that Council has given us approval to move forward with the development of a cultural precinct plan, and has also given us direction to move forward in the final phase of this process to come back with strategies, costs, implications with regards to the development or I'll use the word development of this concept. I'm not asking you to approve this concept, but I believe that approval in principle has already been given by Council with regards to the development of a concept for the cultural precinct. And with that, and with the approval of moving forward with phase 3, we are continuing on and hope to, as I say, get to a point where Council will be provided with a report and recommendations on how to move forward or the strategies to move forward on a cultural precinct sometime in February or March.
Thank you. Councillor Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Down. I appreciate that. And certainly I think we all, we all agree that the cultural precinct is a great idea, and that it's a very vital part of how we're going to drive people to the downtown core. We certainly want to make sure that we include as many voices as possible in the process. But if you look back at what we've done so far, I mean, I think there's a bit of a schedule that's laid out here. I mean, the vision was laid out at a meeting. It was presented to the public. It was presented to Council. And then there was a bunch of consultation in between. And then there was the next phase, which was late December or early December, pardon me, where they had a second showing of the concept plan at that time after all the consultation. And now they're asking, or now we're receiving this report for information, moving forward to phase 3, which is costing and all the rest of it. But in that time, if you look at the concept plan from when it was first shown to Council and the public, through all the consultation of which people are delegating today about their concerns, the plan conceptually hasn't changed all that much. Conceptually, the plan is almost identical to the original plan that was given to us. Maybe a minor change here or there, but nothing fundamentally different about the layout of the plan. So my concern is that if we move forward tacitly or otherwise endorsing the plan that we have, while saying that a cultural precinct is important, on the other hand, nothing's changed. To me, that says either all the consultation says that the plan's great, which is not borne out by the people that come delegate here, or that the plan just hasn't changed. Whether that's the truncated timetable, whether that's a whole myriad of factors, I'm not sure. So I have concerns about endorsing a plan that that it seems as though it's got a lot more work to go before it satisfies both Council and the residents. So if this is just truly a receipt for information, then I have no problem supporting a receipt for information. But if it's in any way endorsing the plan as it's laid out today, I'm going to have a problem supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Tom. And I do believe it's just receipt for information. But Mayor Dow?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A number of items have already been addressed, but conceptual is the word. This is a conceptual plan. We're not moving forward with anything other than a concept. And as Councillor Thompson has put on the screen, there's the concept plan from 2010, before the majority of the members of this council were ever on council. If you look carefully, there's no baseball field, there's no band shell, there's no splash pad. It's a concept. And that's what we're dealing with right now. A couple of points that were made through some of the delegations. The farmers market location may be an issue. Well, I think that's going to be an issue when the Wells Street lofts open. That has to be looked at. And I don't know where that sits, but I think that's a discussion that will happen. I think everyone on council is well aware that Trinity Anglican is private. I'm certainly well aware of that, and I'm well aware of who owns it. As a matter of fact, it's interesting because when I was cleaning up some old stuff on the weekend, I came across a bunch of information from Trinity back when I was a warden many years ago, and it was quite interesting. I mean, the parish, I think that building has been there since 1880 something. So I mean, well, the parish has been here since I think 1840, 1843, something like that, but the actual physical building. So I think we well realize that it's private, and certainly anything that would affect your land would be done with the utmost respect in terms of talking to you without sort of showing up at your door and saying, surprise, guess what? So we're not moving there. I mean, again, if we look at the concept plan from 2010, it shows a walkway almost right through the middle of the property as well. So again, it's a concept. I appreciate your concerns, and they have indeed been noted. I don't want to point out that I think I heard a comment that we're favoring some particular private religious group. I don't see that at all. That's not what we do, and I don't think we would ever do that, quite frankly. Again, I'll go back to the fact that it's a concept plan. There's certainly items in the current plan that I'm perhaps not crazy about, but I want to see everything. I want to have all the information I can get before I make a decision on how I think best to move forward. And very much interested in any input from any resident. So thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have to say. I will definitely support the motion.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. Councillor Abel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The remark was made by a councillor that Mr. Downey has spent a lot of time in this precinct, and I would also like to say that Director Marco Ramuno has as well. Last term, we were involved in the Southeast Heritage District. It was a study, was going into phase 2, and we dropped it because the residents did not support it. I've learned one thing, that this resident association is proud. They're very proud of what they have in their area and their homeowners, and when they have a concern, they bring it forward to council, and I respect that. We are hearing those concerns again. I'm not surprised. I had a feeling. I see the overlap and the similarities between the Southeast Heritage and the tours in the precinct, having done the tour in both. It's just a beautiful part of our town. And anything we do has to be thought out very carefully. To compound many things is the traffic. We hear that over and over again. When this precinct was conceptually thought of on the promenade study, I don't think any consideration was given to GO Transit. So there's lots to be considered before we move. Mr. Downey has said there's an aggressive timeline he was under to do so. I'm not sure exactly why, or could you explain through you, Madam Chair, if Mr. Downey would just elaborate on that comment as to why we were on the timeline.
Mr. Downey.
Through you, Madam Chair, when we were putting together the terms of reference, we had identified a timeline that was council approved, so because we wanted to ensure that any consultant who was going to be putting in an RFP or submitting an RFP to the town knew what those timeframes were. So it was approved, or the timeline was approved by council.
Okay, thank you.
Can you say why? Why we had to have that timeline?
I don't believe that's appropriate.
No, I'm sorry. I think Mr. Clerk, if you could answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Any response to that question would be difficult because it also pertains to a confidential closed session matter that is still before council.
Well, Mr. Clerk, I read in the newspaper that the consultant for the FOTAN mentioned about a procurement of land acquisition. It's quoted in the papers, so I don't know how confidential that is. But if you're telling me I can't speak about it, then I won't.
Yeah, unfortunately. Thank you.
Well, I
anything
think
for the councillor? Thank you.
I'll change the line of questions. My point is we're moving very quickly on this, and we can see that there's lots that we have to consult and talk about with our community going forward. My comment about the town park is I really only see one item to be addressed in the town park, and that's the armory. We want to, everything else seems fine there, but if I was to move forward, I would suggest to council that we look at the one obvious rather than trying to relocate band shells or remove ball diamonds. I would just, at first, just address the armory. Everything else seems to be fine, and I would approve going forward in such a fashion. I am a little concerned because phase 3 is going to go forward with strategies, budgets, and other options for council to consider. And to my mind, that's beyond conceptual. That is committing and making decisions going forward. So I'm in favor of receiving a concept plan, but I'm in no way in favor of endorsing something that may be picked up by another council, as what the delegate said. And proof of that example is just what Councillor Thompson has brought up and said, that the cultural precinct, which is no more than a line item here and there in the promenade study, it doesn't go into any depth. But our council has committed a large amount of money and time to this based on that, because before it was approved in a plan, and 3 councils later, we're saying, well, it was in a plan, so let's commit and do a cultural precinct. So I can see why if we adopt or give indications that we can endorse it, that could be construed in 5, 10, 15 years as saying, oh, the council of the day has this plan, so let's go and expropriate and be aggressive and move this forward. So I'm all for receiving, but the phase 3 should only outline what costs may occur and receive for information. I will not be moving in favor at this time, within a month's time, to start committing funds. And the reason is I went through the experience last term of the landscape. I think it was called the street landscape. It was a study that was done last term. It cost $25,000. It was done by FOTAN. And it was one of the easy first steps put forward by the promenade study. And the bottom line was, it was the options and the schedule was to go forward with a lot of money to improve the streetscape on all parts. It was a very in-depth study. Replace lamps, putting colored concrete. It was on and on. I think it added up to $42 million. We received it. And then we started moving forward with budget line items. So we saw in our budget last term $2 million for concrete, pattern concrete. And I was like, well, you see, this is how things move forward when we adopt and take things on. So I am sharing the concern with what has been brought forward by the delegates, Trinity and the association, that go slowly, receiving concept, but do not endorse and move forward with the concept or options going forward on strategies and budgets and how to go forward. My last question is, did we do any geotechnical studies on any part of the precinct? Through you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Downey, do we know?
To you, Madam Chair, yes, we have. We did 10 borehole tests within Block 1 and Block 3, and that was that report was submitted to staff in November of 2015. In October 28th of 2015, we did a Phase 1 environmental assessment through the IES department.
Thank you.
So that was Block 1 and Block 3?
Correct. We have 5 borehole tests for Block 1, and we have 5 borehole tests within the town park.
And could you tell me, Madam Clerk, if the 5 boreholes in Block 1, where were they approximately?
Mr. Downey?
There's actually a map I can show you if you wish.
If you don't mind.
Sure. If you want to put it up, Mr. Downey?
And while I've got you, Mr. Downey, how much did we pay for that? How much did council approve for that expenditure, if that's known?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I haven't got that cost with me right now. Happy to provide that at some point, but I haven't got it right now.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate
Downey.
that.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Abel? Nope. Any other speakers? Councillor Maracas? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Gardner, you? Councillor Gardner, and then we'll go to Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate all of the residents coming forward this evening, and I pretty much agree with all of their comments as well. I remember in the year 2000, John West and a committee was struck to study this area, and all of the subsequent councils have been stymied as to what to do with Library Square. We've gone through a very fast consultation process, 3 months. It's taken the councils before us 15 years. We're going too fast. My understanding from approving, when the council approved this money in November for phase 3, and my understanding from what the consultants said on December 8th, phase 3 is the implementation phase for this concept plan. If I'm wrong on that, I would like to know. Through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Downey.
Mr. Downey, if you'd like to explain phase 3 from a project perspective.
Through you, Madam Chair, that's correct. That's the way it was presented as an implementation phase. Our concern is that that word means different things to different people. Implementation phase with regards to this means that we are looking for some detailed information or further detailed information based on the concept that we have before you. It does not mean that there's endorsement of those items. It does not mean that Council is committed to moving forward with those items. It does not mean that there's been any financial commitments made with regards to those things, but the word implementation had some concerns that people thought perhaps we had already committed to this plan and we were going to tear up the ball diamond. So there was, so we are not, we're trying our very best to communicate that as we move through this phase is only to help refine the information that has already been presented to Council to allow you to make future decisions on the cultural precinct.
Thank you, Mr. Downey. Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Abel and Councillor Tom. I'm prepared to receive information and do nothing else with this, certainly nothing in principle. And it is true that the community endorsed the idea of having a culturally focused area in the southeast historical quadrant. That was entrenched in the Promenade Plan. I believe that everybody at this council table would like to see that happen, but it was just an idea. I want to make that very clear. I want to go forward with this. The things that I would be looking for through Madam Chair to Mr. Downey and the rest of Council would be an inventory of all the historical properties in the area, a parking study, look at creating this vision of a cultural precinct from a public planning perspective, including use of the existing buildings, reuse of the existing buildings, any zoning changes we would need. Do we want multi-residential use on public lands? Do we want commercial infiltration into historic, cultural, residential area, especially as we are trying to make Yonge Street the focus of our economic development? Financial requirements, is it going to use the hydro funds potentially? If it is, that means we have to have another public process with respect to spending the hydro funds. Are there any people interested in public-private partnerships? A benefit risk analysis so that the residents and the community at large can decide whether we do actually want to go ahead with this. Also, I'd like to know, we need to know what the cost would be to refigure the town park in the way it's proposed, and also what money have we spent to already improve the band shell and the water park in 2016 dollars. I didn't know there was a geotech study. I think Council would benefit from having that geotech report provided to them as soon as possible. And I'm glad to hear that the consulting with the online and with the residents is ongoing. I think that we have a wonderful opportunity to do something that will mark our council as a very special, forward-thinking, and a council that really cared about making Aurora better for its residents. Let's be careful. Let's do it right.
Thank you. Councilor Marcus?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not going to get into the weeds tonight because I don't think that's the exercise that we're doing here. Do I have some issues with the concept of the plan? I do, but I don't think it's a time or place tonight to do it. I think we continue on the path that we've provided our director to take with the consultants, get all the information that we need to finally look at this, you know, and then take the residents' concerns, take all those concerns, put them together. We sit down, for a better word, I say we lock ourselves, the 9 of us, in a room, and we take all that information and we work and we actually get something done with this area. For me, this area, especially Block 1, is something that will kickstart the revitalization of the downtown, something that this town needs, something that this town has been looking to do for 15 years. And, you know, am I thrilled with some of the aspects within the plan? Not really, but when we do sit down and we look at the plan as a whole and have that information as far as costs, Councillor Gardner mentioned about, you know, looking for the private partnership. That's part of the next phase. That's part of what the exercise is to look for those private partnerships, to look at those costs, bring them back, have us be fully informed of how we're going to go about this. And then that's when we as a council can get into the weeds and start picking this apart. And I think sometimes the problem is when we put plans in front of a council and you start picking it apart too early, they fall apart and nothing ever gets done. And we end up just going round and round in circles. So I think this time we have an opportunity to do it right, come out with a plan that everyone can see and be happy with, and the vision for Aurora can move forward the way Aurora as a community as a whole wants it to. And so I'll wait till those all that information comes back, and then we'll take a look at it. But as far as receiving it for information, I'm more than thrilled to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Maracus. Any other questions? We'll start back with Councilor Peary, Councilor Gardner, Councilor Thompson.
Again, Madam Chair, you know, from a very basic perspective, if we're talking about this from an economic development perspective, you don't grow a community by not doing anything and letting things wither and die. There is an opportunity to do something here. What exactly that is, nobody's known. Nobody's known for the last 15 to 20 years. And we're coming forward with a plan for the area to drive people not just to Yonge Street to go shopping, but hopefully to the cultural center, to the armory, depending on what gets created there in the future. And I'm in favor of that. Is everything going to be rock solid like it is in our conceptual plan? No, and I would argue that it's not intended to be either. It gives an idea, it gives a vision, it gives something to aspire to, and I think that's what's important here. I am a little bit concerned and confused about Mr. Deputy Mayor's comments around the table this evening, saying that this is born out of just 1 or 2 lines in the promenade plan. And I don't think those are fair comments to make, especially when you consider that almost word for word from the original motion that was presented to bring us to this point, Mr. Deputy Mayor brought forward an identical motion asking for a separate part of town to be investigated. I don't think that's fair to the work that we've done as a group. And up to this point, I'd say that we've been fairly unanimous in our decision making. So where we are right now, a bit of a crossroads, but in what I'm seeing and where we're going, it's still just a concept. And I think that's the most important thing for everybody to remember. If you look at any community that's undergone a revitalization, whether it's up in Newmarket on Main Street, Unionville, they all start with investments. into the areas that you want people to go to. Bloor Street, if anybody's been down there for the last 7 years, has been miserable to try and get down there. But now that the work's gone in, the money's gone in, it's gone back to being a place where people want to be. Now, will we ever be like Yorkville is? No, I don't think so, but I do think that there is opportunity for us to grow and for us to better ourselves as a community. And what we're doing right now is setting that vision for the downtown core of where we'd like to be.
Thank you, Councillor Perry. Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I sit and listen, I'm a little bit stunned at the lack of cohesiveness and in the comments that are coming out, because clearly my interpretation was that this is a conceptual plan, and it seems that others around the table don't view it that way. And I just want to confirm. We were all at the same meetings, and this is strictly a conceptual plan. And I know that the wording of
implementation,
that might have been a little bit confusing. But I think with any project this size, where you have 2 or 3 open houses, you have precinct walks and feedback, everyone's going to be at a different stage of data collection and absorbing the information. Since some people are commenting on things that happened back in October. So I just want to make it clear from my viewpoint, this is strictly conceptual. Sure, there has to be ducks in order for certain scenarios to play out. So, I think the implementation plan, I think it's a time when we kind of get an opportunity to see what ducks are in line and what options are available, and still receiving feedback. So I just want to, give my interpretation and my perception that this is strictly conceptual, and I'm sure at the end of this process, this is going to be something that we're all going to be, or most of us will be proud of. And I think just, I know we've had comments about the speed or the pace of which this is moving. If it took another 15 years to get where we're at, we'll be having a 7th open house eating chicken and tuna salad. So I certainly I like the pace that we're moving, and we're not going to be dropping down any. We're not going to be implementing anything without strict consultation with everyone. So and I hope that everyone will be able to see that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kim. Councillor Tom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess I'll try to organize my thoughts a bit more concisely than the last time I spoke. We've had one concept in this process for the most historic and oldest part of our town, one concept, with almost no change from the beginning of the process to right now. We've had a considerable consultation with the community, all of which has not been positive. It's not that the consultation took place and that everyone was in favor of the plan, so we're moving forward with it. There's significant concerns. The concept hasn't changed. So I think rightly we have to look at this and say, why would we go to a phase 3 where we're going into more detailed costing of a concept that not everyone's buying into? I understand the concerns about we'll never get anything done. I mean, for me, when I was consulted with the consultants, I mentioned heritage as being a huge factor. I mentioned my initial feelings was that the baseball diamond should stay. I don't want to get into the weeds. The other thing was we talked about Library Square, that section of town by the old library, the old fire hall. The concept plan is not, there's no square. It's a parking garage and mixed-use residential with commercial-like grade with almost no open space or a square concept. The only thing that's square is Moseley, Victoria, Church, and Yonge. That block is a square, but there's no public space. That was the original concept that at least I kind of went into this process thinking about. So we went into this process thinking, or at least I did, thinking about X, I've got Y, and now we're talking about going ahead and getting more costing and figuring out ways to implement a concept plan I don't think everyone, including the community, has bought into. So to me, as Councillor Gardner mentioned, I don't understand the problem. We don't have to slow it down for a decade, but slow the process down while we're at the conceptual stage, where we can do more fundamental tweaks to the concept plan before going out and getting costing. To me, that just seems like a logical way to go ahead. And the last thing I'll say is that, again, maybe I'm incorrect, but it seems as though we received this report for information and phase 3 commences. So I know it just says we're receiving for information, and everyone said, well, you know, that's all we're doing. But the report speaks to me as a tacit endorsement of the current concept plan and a move forward with phase 3. So if that's the case, and perhaps Mr. Downey can clarify one last time that I'm incorrect, if that is the case, I'm going to have a hard time supporting it.
Mr. Downey?
Through you, Madam Chair, and I apologize if there's not a clear understanding. I'll do my best to clear this up. Phase 3 has commenced. I've already started. I've already had the consultant moving forward on aspects of phase 3. We have not sat down and talked about when the delivery of those of phase 3 will come forward to council, but we have already started or commenced on aspects of phase 3 based on the fact that council gave us approval with the funding, and that you were in support of moving forward on a cultural precinct. We have presented you elements within that cultural precinct. We're not asking you to approve those, but you know at this point what some of those elements are, and we're going to be coming back with some additional information. If, as a result of this process, council wants to delve deeper into certain aspects of that or revisit particular areas, more than happy to do that, but I'm not asking council to do that at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Down. That's what I had thought as well. Councillor Tom, any other comments? Mayor Dodd, I didn't see that you wanted to speak again. May I continue? Not yet. Councillor Abel?
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear for Councillor Perry's sake that I do approve of the concept, the plan. I have no problem with that. I thought I made it, at least I attempted to make it clear that I would not endorse the plan as it is. And the reason is because if you endorse it down the road, someone may say, well, they endorsed this plan, we're going to affect Plan B, and we've heard very clearly that that's not the case. So I'm all for receiving it. I'm all for vision. I appreciate all that going forward. I thought it was a great idea, and since the Promenade study had identified 6 other similar sort of areas for development and revitalization, I thought I would make a motion to address those as well, and I thought it was prudent while we had the advantage of a consultation going on right now to maybe piggyback and move forward and broaden the scope. As one of the delegates had said, you hadn't even gone across to the west side. I did the same with the Southeast Heritage. I tried to expand it to make it a little bit better on the Temperance side. So I just wanted to be clear that I'm in favor and will support receiving this information because I think it's a very useful tool. I just don't want to rush ahead and go ahead on some things. We have the Armory, which there's no comment on it because we're doing another study on the Armory. And maybe we'll give Mr. Downey the advantage of putting both together when he brings his first step forward. It may very well be, he says, first step should be the Armory. Everything else can sit. And then I'm going to say, well, that's bravo. But that's not been borne out in this study. And I appreciate that we are, you know, I like one of the ideas one of the delegates said is explore Moseley as your center case going down. And I thought, well, you know, we hadn't even talked about that. We'd only looked at what they had in the Promenade as a path going through the church property. I think it might be a good idea to have a look at that as well. You know, see how that looks. We did ask, you know, we do have in Block 1, as it looks like, we've got a 4-story parking garage. I'm not really in favor of that. I don't think that blends in with the Heritage District. I thought for years we had talked about underground parking at the Library Square. At least I was very clear on that. That's not even considered in this. In fact, there's nothing really about the Library Square in this except a possible addition. I'll have to pay a little more closer attention, but I'm sure there is something that we should do. But gathering spot that could spill out onto Yonge Street for revitalization in Block 1 makes absolute great sense. The town park area, you know, we've got a treasure there. Could we incorporate that? Great idea. Can we link it? Let's go for it. I mean, I really am for that. But I am very mindful and respectful of the people that live in that area, who own property in that area, and have their own ideas of what they do. They may not share what the consultant has here, and if they don't, we should take note of that. So if that's going to be put in the plan, let's say, this is our plan. We met some resistance here, we had some comments here, and that goes forward so that in the future, when people look at it, they'll say, ah, okay, I get it. You know, I really am forward thinking along with everyone else. I do not want to start committing dollars, and I gave examples why. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ewell. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to address a couple points. You know, the streetscape plan's been brought up, and I just want to, you know, point to that for a second. That plan was approved 3 years ago with costs, and we didn't rush into that. Shovels didn't hit the ground, and all of a sudden we started tearing up sidewalks and all that stuff. You know, as Council Abel well knows, I mean, we probably have moved on very little that's in that plan. Even though it was endorsed in principle, there still comes due diligence afterwards. You still want to make sure that what's being recommended makes good financial sense. No different here. You know, the concept that we're moving too quickly, the only thing we move quickly on is a concept. Paint me a picture so that we can have these conversations. It's a baseline. It's to stir discussion. We've tried it the other way. Mr. Downey has a binder full of different reports, open houses, asking the residents, what would you like to see there? And I think he has one report where there's 42 different things being put forward. We've tried different approaches. This is another approach trying to break the deadlock or gridlock, as Councillor Gardner had said, about how many times council's dealt with this issue and been unable to push forward. We move quickly on a vision to stir and stimulate discussion. This is the baseline. We know that it's going to be modified or adapted from this point based upon feedback, based on more information. I mean, you know, we've talked about underground parking for many years. Well, you know, as far as I understand through the borehole testing, that underground parking is not feasible at Library Square because the water pressure is too great. So, I mean, this is how we're learning and getting this information to help shape whatever vision it is. But absolutely, you know, this impression that we're going to move quickly and that council's looking to break ground in the next few months, that's not true. You know, we will do the same due diligence we do with anything. That due diligence is going to include traffic studies. That due diligence is going to include parking studies, economic studies. This needs to be that driver. Let's remember, our strategic plan talks about, you know, a place where businesses can thrive, and we're trying to develop that downtown revitalization, which, if I were to look back at election material, I'm sure everybody on this council spoke to doing things to downtown revitalization. I'm not in favor of moving forward because it's a pretty picture. It's got to show value for the residents. It's got to show value for the downtown community, and that due diligence needs to come at some point. We're not there yet. But the only thing we move quickly on is getting a picture to stimulate discussion. And hopefully we can keep moving forward through this process and making sure that everybody has an opportunity to participate so that we get to that place that this council and prior councils have been unable to do, to create something special. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Anyone else to speak to the issue? Councillor Gardner, and then Mayor Daw.
Thank you. Through Madam Chair to Mr. Downey. Mr. Downey, in your report, under financial implications, it has $85,582. Is this the money that Council pre-approved last year for Phase 3?
Mr. Downey?
Through you, Madam Chair, that's correct.
I had concerns at the time that we were approving this money. My understanding was that it would not be spent until Council approved the concept plan of the cultural precinct. I'm not pleased to hear that any of it has been spent without Council approval. To me, approving a concept plan is approving what the plan says, more or less. And from what I understand at the table, from what I've heard, received for information tonight, is an endorsement of that plan. And I see people shaking their heads, but You know, sounds to me that that's what's happening. It sounds to me that's what's already happening. I think due diligence needs to be done now. This is the stage to do due diligence before anything else goes forward. And to me, that includes a parking study, a traffic study, historical inventory. Money is going to be required for those things. And I would like to know where we are going to get that money and when we are planning on doing those studies. So either through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Elliott or Mr. Downey. What is this $85,000 going to be used for?
Thank you, Mr. Downey, if you can answer that.
Through you, Madam Chair, when we came forward with approval for the RFP had identified 3 phases. We had recommended to Council that Phase 1 and Phase 2 be approved, which was research and design and development of the concept. Phase 3 being moving forward, and I'll use the implementation phase of the project, so that we could continue to gather information and provide that information to Council to assist you in the decision making with regards to how you wish to move forward and in what aspects you wish to move forward within the cultural precinct. With regards to the approval of Phase 3, Council has given us authorization to move forward with that. I have had conversations with the consultant. We continue to try to obtain private partnerships and find out what the commercial viability of this plan is. And I've had ongoing conversations with regards to the consultant on this. I've asked them to continue their good work on that. Because at the end of the day, we would certainly like to come forward to Council with some level of interest from the private sector with regards to how they would like to see, or what aspects of they might be interested within the plan. So those are some of the things that we've already started having some conversations on, and we're only in the initial phases. As I said, I haven't even sat down with the consultant at this point to determine when we might be able to complete that phase and have those recommendations before Council.
Thank you. Follow-up, Madam Chair. What kind of information do you think the consultants are going to be providing?
Through you, Madam Chair, say for instance we're looking at the development within Block 1, which is identified within the concept of a mix between residential and retail. We need to find out whether or not there's any commercial viability with regards to that type of development within that area, and if there's any level of interest from the private sector with regards to moving that issue forward. What we hope to be able to come back to Council with is some recommendations that, yes, we've identified that there's a potential private partners out there. Perhaps the process is that we go out with an expression of interest. There may be other processes that come forward, but we're looking to come into Council saying, these are some of the strategies that you can use in order to move aspects of this plan forward, if you so choose. And here are some of the cost implications, or some of the pros and cons with regards to moving those things forward. For instance, if there is a desire to move forward with a commercial retail development, residential retail development, is there a parking issue with regards to that? Well, then maybe as part of that requirement, there needs to be a parking study associated with that. There should be a cost implication with regards to that. And what other additional amenities are going to be required in order to address some of the servicing needs with regards to that development. Some of those should at least be identified, just on a high level. We don't want to get into detail, but just on a high level, so that Council understands that if we want to move forward, or some strategies in moving forward with some aspects of the plan, these are some of the steps that you should take in order to make that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. From my point of view, I would like to stop with the planning process at the moment, and I would like to get down to some studies. I would like the studies to be parking and traffic, and we have an economic development division on council. We have a planning division on council. I think we need to do some staff work to try and answer some of these questions and come back to the residents and allay their fears and their concerns before we continue with any actual planning. I am completely against spending any more of the $85,000, and I am completely against receipt of this for information. I think it is not the way I want to go, and I don't think it's the way the residents want to go.
Councillor Marakis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know, maybe I didn't understand what was happening, but I took it as that all that information is what we will be getting from Phase 3. Am I correct? Through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Downey?
Mr. Downey.
Through you, Madam Chair, that's correct. What I attempted to do is answer the question, give me an idea of what kind of information we will be receiving, and that's the kind of information I anticipate you would be receiving in order to assist you in making decisions.
So my take is that we are working, moving forward, collecting that data, getting that information, doing some studies. That's what the consultant's doing. And I mean, as far as the 85,582 through you to Mr. Downey, am I wrong also in this? I think I'm correct, but is that not the full amount for all 3 phases? That's not just Phase 3, is it? Through you, Madam Chair.
Through you, I'm just reading. Yes, through you, I'm sorry, Mr. Downey.
I apologize. No, Phase 3, I believe, is about 15,000 of that. No, what I want to do is give an overall cost of what the study is at this point. That's the purpose of this is a status update. These are the monies that we have committed to this project thus far.
And thank you. And then I guess another comment. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that the approval of that that budget for Phase 3 was unanimous. I could be wrong. Maybe it was 8-1. I'm not sure, but it was a good majority, if not unanimous, that wanted to move forward into that Phase 3 at that time. And I think if there was any objections at that time moving forward, it should have been noted that day. So those are just my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Marcus, Councillor Marcus. Mayor Dodd, did you want to speak again?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to either the clerk or the solicitor, the recommendation for this report is to receive for information. So through you, Madam Chair, to either the clerk or the solicitor who would feel more appropriate to answer this question, does this give staff any authority to do anything that has not been covered in any other report?
Mr. Clerk, can you answer that, please?
Thank you. Through Madam Chair, no, this does not give staff any authority to do anything.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. So we're receiving this for information, Madam Chair, and the clerk could tell us how long we've spoken to this. So one suggestion would be that if we actually get to a plan, that we pack a lunch to have a fuller discussion, perhaps. Speak to 2 things with respect to we're moving too quickly. I think the new library went in about 16 years ago, which is when we started talking about doing something with Library Square. It was at least 10 years ago that I stood at that podium as the chair of the library board and said, we need to do something with this area. And I suggested, actually, that we tear down the old library and tear down the old senior center, causing an apoplectic fit with both Councillor Wallace and Councillor West at that time. So to suggest that we're rushing into anything is disingenuous. We are not rushing. We have been working at this for at least 16 years. We're moving forward. And we're working on a concept. So we're receiving a report for information. Mr. Downey, I suspect if he was going to write the report today, may change some words. Don't want to make that suggestion. We're receiving for information. The clerk has told us staff gets no authority out of this to do anything that has not already been approved by council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Dow. Okay, I think we've all spoke twice to this issue. I haven't said as chair. I won't say much other than I do support to receive for information. It's I won't repeat everything that's been said, although I do support the plan. I believe there's things that we've heard from the public and that we are going to be, staff will be listening to and consultants are listening to, and there'll be some adjustments to that concept plan. And looking forward to it coming back. The revitalization of our heart of our town is what we all want, and we all want it to be a wonderful thing, and that's what this plan or concept plan is meant to do. There's obviously some things with it that need to be changed due to the feedback, and there'll be more of that from my perspective. Again, I'm looking forward to it. So, that being said, all in favor of receiving the plan? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 13, which was pulled by Mayor Daw.
Do you want to give a couple of seconds, just let the room?
Sure. We'll just take a 2-minute break, just 2 minutes. Well, thank you everyone for coming to this evening. Appreciate it.